I asked you guys to give me your hottest Hoyoverse takes. Your opinions about the company, about their games, or at least 3 of them because I haven't played Honkai Impact 3rd, the story, characters, the community, anything related to Hoyoverse or their games. And today we are going to have a look at what you guys think. And I will be giving my own thoughts on these takes, whether I agree, whether I disagree, whether I partially agree, whether I even consider them to be hot takes in the first place, or whether they're lukewarm or cold. So, let's go! There is no unloved child or cash cow treatment in the big 3 Hoyoverse games. Each game has love, effort, and attention poured into it, and turning it into a monthly debate on this game got this for free, it's obviously the best and most loved is weird. These games would not be what they are without the dev teams loving them so much and caring about their product. I agree. I think this whole debate about who is Hoyoverse's favorite child and who is their least favorite child serves literally no other purpose than to provoke people, than to cause needless, petty fights and conflict, and personally, I am very tired of it. As someone who plays all 3 of said big games, so Genshin, HSR, and ZZZ, I personally think they're all great. They all have their strengths, they all have their flaws, which can and should be addressed, but at the end of the day, they're all being developed by different people, different teams who have their own visions, their own ideas, their own priorities. And I think that insisting that one game must be the most or least beloved based on your own personal opinions, it makes very little sense, and it's honestly kind of weird. Like, you are aware that there doesn't always have to be a favorite, right? A parent can have multiple children and love all of them in different ways. That doesn't mean that they inherently prefer one over the other. That's not usually how it's supposed to work. And if you think that's the norm, then I'm sorry. My condolences, I guess. Firefly and Trailblazer interactions in 2.0 seemed forced, and they tried too much on the girlfriend trope with her, and thus ruined her character a bit, but they improved it in 2.2, which gave her some points back. I think they really fumbled at the start of Penacony by introducing Firefly to us, making us go on, you know, a fun little date with her, learning about her illness, and then killing her off at the end of that very same quest, or, you know, quote, killing her off. It seemed pretty rushed, and I've heard many times that because it all just went by so fast, a lot of people didn't really get a chance to fully get attached to Firefly before, you know, everything was over. And I do agree with that. I think it would have been better if they had given us more time to really get to know her, not just in a long one-to-one segment, but also in combination with other characters to make everything feel a bit more natural. So I definitely understand that take. And I do agree that later on, it got better. It got better. While ZZZ has an extremely interesting and dynamic world and characters, it's held back by its often unacceptably terrible English localization, constantly using incorrect grammar and punctuation, or having character dialogue be super out of character, Evelyn using slang and quality time, etc. Now this is one I haven't actually heard a lot about. Maybe it's just because I have not been playing Zenless for as long as I have been playing the other 2 games. Given what I know of Genshin's history with questionable English localizations, though, I would not be surprised if Zenless had that problem as well. Personally, though, I've never really noticed it as much, and that's probably just because I play NEN and I don't really go to JP or CN for comparisons like that. So if you agree with that, or if you have any more concrete examples, then let me know. Okay, this might actually get me hate, but at the start, I really did not like Aventurine. I actually hated him. After watching his story in 2.1, I now tolerate him, but I still don't like him, but I can tolerate him now. Maybe after more stories with him, I might like him more, but for now, I don't. That is understandable. Especially because Aventurine really is a special type of character. At the start of Penacony, there were quite a few people who were definitely put off by Aventurine's, you know, his attitude, his confidence, his connection to the IPC and whatnot. Personally, I loved him from the get-go because I'm a sucker for gay men with potential trauma and depression. But I can definitely see his general personality not sitting quite right with a lot of people. 2.1 definitely made a lot of people understand and appreciate Aventurine's character more, and as someone who already loved him, 2.1 is one of my favorite patches in HSR history. But if you just don't vibe with his general personality, that's totally fair. My thing when it comes to liking and especially disliking fictional characters, or, you know, I guess just people in general, there's nothing wrong with disliking a character or even hating them because, you know, everyone has their own tastes, their own preferences. As long as you actually understand the character, as long as you don't let misinformation and misinterpretation guide your perception of them, then, you know, fair enough. Fair enough. This has been my hot take since before Genshin, but it has obvious effects to post-Genshin Hoyo games. Hoyo lost the balls to fully kill playable characters. Last they had it was with Himeko and Honkai Impact 3rd. And honestly, I personally feel like they dragged her death on for way too long. Can't comment on that one because, again, I haven't played the game. People oftentimes use Gallagher and Misha as a counter-argument, but technically, those two aren't even really alive per se. And then they added as context that they haven't caught up with the Amphorius story since they stopped playing during Penacony, but from what they've been told by a friend, Amphorius' character deaths still don't really count as real deaths. And I think this take fully depends on your definition of dead and alive. Personally, to use the examples that they gave, I would consider Gallagher and Misha to be character deaths, because at the end of the day, they were still sentient beings that at some point ceased to exist, and to me, that counts as a character death. Now with Amphorius, we're gonna have to see where the story goes, but as far as I'm concerned, these deaths, as of now, still count as deaths, because these characters used to exist, and now they don't anymore. So, to me, that counts. People are going to be as annoying with Finon as people were with Firefly and Castorez and Acheron, and you get the point. On the bright side, a man getting favoritism from Hoyo like he's one of the girlies. Hallelujah! Indeed! And I wish we could get more of those, but we'll take what we can get. Now, I will say, people are already annoying when it comes to Finon. Meta-wise, it goes one way and the other. People doom posting on the one hand, hyping him up on the other. Fandom-wise, people calling Finon their favorite child. On the other, you have people not liking the attention that Finon is getting. It's always the same. Anytime a Hoyoverse character gets an above-average amount of attention, people are gonna be up in arms over it. And I think the HSR devs could make all of this a lot easier if they just gave their characters an about equal amount of attention, and marketing, and promotion, and screen time, say for maybe, you know, collab characters, or characters who play a huge role in the story, or anniversary characters. All of them. But yeah, definitely add Finon to the pile. He wasn't the first, he's not gonna be the last, unfortunately. It's hard to fully explain, but I find Acheron's character, how it's used, and her personality incredibly boring. The spectacle of when she actually takes action or feeds us a Honkai Impact 3rd reference was definitely amazing, but it doesn't really change anything else for me. She might be my least favorite character just by the principle that she's the only one that I can say I actively dislike. There's also her design, but that's probably mostly just a me thing. Despite my taste in fictional women being a lot more narrow than it is for fictional men, I like Acheron. I think she's very pretty, number one. I actually do like her design a lot, save for a few things here and there. And I actually quite enjoyed her presence in the story for the most part, and if I had played Honkai Impact, I would probably have liked her even more. I think due to Acheron generally being a more quiet and reserved person who isn't nearly as energetic and expressive as someone like, say, March, for example, people who only know her character from HSR might get the impression that she's kind of boring and doesn't really have much going for her, which isn't just a her thing, it happens with certain other characters in this game as well, and just in general, people tend to enjoy characters that are more openly upbeat or aggressive or in other ways expressive. And they see characters that aren't that are, you know, maybe more shy or maybe, you know, more collected, the silent types. And they consider those characters to be lacking a personality, which just isn't true at all. Just because a character isn't that emotional and you may need to read more into their actions and words to really understand what they're about, doesn't make them any less interesting, at least in my opinion. It was really silly when a small subset of people online acted like Astra and Evelyn. What is my dog doing? It was really silly when a small subset of people online acted like Astra and Evelyn was unrealistic, when the potential there is so insane, because they wanted Astra and Wise instead. Just ship both, for real, it's all for fun. I say this as a guy who defaults to straight ships in general. And this take applies to any and every ship. Just ship what you want. Doesn't matter if it's canon, if it's not canon, if it's a very popular ship with tons and tons of screen time and content, or if it's the nichest rare pair you can think of, if it's taboo, if it's not taboo, it doesn't frickin' matter. If you like the ship, great. If you don't like a ship, also great. Just be respectful, don't invade other people's spaces telling them what they should or shouldn't like. Just have fun with it. But also to the people who think that Astra and Evelyn is, quote, unrealistic, I mean, have you seen them? I'm just saying, like, look at them. Sampo is a better character than Aventurine. Believe that when we get his lower and 5-star version, he is gonna be way better than him. This one just feels very targeted at me specifically. If you've been following me for a while, then you know that I love Aventurine very much, as I mentioned earlier in the video, and I love Sampo. He is one of my favorite characters. That said, whenever this man gets his 5-star version, which he will, I will be making him my next E6 project. After Boot Hill is done, he's gonna be next. And our last one. Most people who think one of 3 games is stingy compared to the other 2 have never played any other gacha and don't know what it's like to watch ads for a 2-star, deal with sparks, duplicates to evolve cards, having to get multiple of the highest rarity to pick the one you want, etc. Yes! It's no secret that Hoyoverse games, especially Genshin, were many people's first gacha games, and in comparison to other newer gachas that have been released recently, you may look at Genshin and think, wow, that's bad. Not just in terms of maybe the pity system or the gacha raids, but also, for example, the amount of pulls you can get as a free-to-play player. Now, personally, as someone who has been playing gacha games since 2018-ish? Over 7 years at least, I can tell you that Genshin and other Hoyoverse games are by far not the worst we could have. Many other gachas out there that, yes, may be older than Hoyoverse games, but are still very popular and big today, are a lot more brutal when it comes not only to the pity system, the raids, the free-to-play currency, and much, much more. They have no soft pity. Hard pity tends to be commonly at the 250 or even 300 and above mark. They release more new banners in a shorter amount of time. And while yes, some of them may give more free-to-play currency, you know what many of these games also have? Anniversary exclusive banners, birthday exclusive banners that will entice you to spend on them. Banners where you can only pull with premium currency. Things that no Hoyoverse game and most modern gachas these days don't have, thankfully. So while yes, Hoyoverse games could definitely be better, especially in comparison to their recent competitors, claiming that they're oh so terribly stingy with the amount of free currency they give and their gacha rates and pity system, honestly, it just tells me all I need to know about your experience with gacha games in general, which is to say you probably have very little to none. And that was it. If you agree or disagree with anything that has been said in this video, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I always love having fun discussions with people, just, you know, be respectful about it. And yeah,